less than a week from the final initial roster for the 2025 season. Who's getting cut? We're predicting who makes the squad as well. Isn't that right, Johnny Venerable?
Yeah, we're going to go through it. Offense, defense, and a little special teams. We'll give you our official prediction. The fight for 53 coming down to the wire. PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hey, welcome in. From Studio A, presented by our friends at PHNX Cardinals. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Brack. We're having fun today on a football Wednesday. Noah Man behind the mic. Bo, how we living?
We're living well. Of course, we're brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app today and use the code PHNX365. Always like to say a fun hello to our friends in the chat already joining us early. Chris Gervais. How about Didi, Alberto E? We got Mac 11, Corey the Stew, Tony B, Mr. Fat Gangster, Snacks, Jersey Cardinal. It's great seeing Jersey out at our draft party a couple months ago. Mike, Steven Jackson may or may not be the former Rams running back. We can't confirm nor deny that. But a big jam-packed show with a jam-packed chat. Ozzy ICU, Ryan Walker. How you doing? Hope everybody's having a good one. And, of course, there's Bonnie Brockable watching live from New Zealand. I love that. Hope everybody's having a great day. Maybe it's a great start to your Thursday. Maybe you're still here with us on Wednesday. Regardless, let's have a show here.
Yeah, we're fired up. Everybody drop a like. The goal today, 500 likes, because Bo and I been in the lab. Not the literal lab, as we've been known to get after, but the 53-man roster cut lab. So we're off on Thursdays. Friday, okay, preview show for whatever kind of mixed bag preseason finale we get on Saturday. And then what happens next week? Cardinals make their cut downs to the 53-man roster. They start to finalize it. So this is it for a lot of guys this weekend. So we thought Wednesday, August 20th, we would give our best guess. We would throw our hat in the ring, what we think is going to go down, just 4 or 5 days from now. And I get it. There are snarks out there. I've seen them in this media market said we never need to reference it as the final. It's never final. Okay. But you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
They're going to release a press release, and it's going to have 53 names on it. So that's what we're shooting for, friends.
537 players. Goodbye.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's no longer. They used to do this in phases for younger football fans. I mean, it's still relatively new to the NFL, but they used to do it in 3 phases, right? Johnny, wasn't like 90 to 75 and then 75 to 53. So it wasn't just so abrupt. Hey, thank you for your service. Now, get out of here or get on the practice squad. And you're starting to see it. There was some spirited debate in the press room today. Started talking to a lot of the Cardinals reporters, how they felt about certain players and, how they felt about, this position group. Should they carry this many guys? And everybody's kind of putting together their list. And Johnny, I've been on it. We did it. We did our initial 53, I think 2 weeks ago, right before the first preseason game. And then this is going to be our final, initial 53 for the Snarks out there. That this is who we think once they cut down from 90 to 53, that this is going to be the squad. And then, of course, there's some roster gymnastics that Monty Ossenfort is so good at and is able to navigate the roster and get in a good place before the Cardinals lace it up against the New Orleans Saints, who were pulled off a trade just a couple moments ago.
There's a lot of groupthink on the Twitter streets, specifically in this market, and Bo and I are going to stick to our guns here of what we believe based on prior habits, based on, Bo's been at every training camp practice. We have seen it all. We have watched it all. We've talked to people in the know. So we're gonna do our best here. So if there are folks that want to come after us, if it doesn't go exactly like this, hey, listen, I apologize, but this is our best. Bo does not apologize. And here's what I'm going to tell you, everybody. The meat of this roster is set. The roles are set. We all know the roles. You're the most educated of Cardinal fans because you're a part of this community. Yeah. Most of you are diehards. We appreciate that. Become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. But it's we're talking about fringe guys that we believe have roles as opposed to some other players. So we're going to go offense, defense, special teams. The offense is a little bit easier to call, but we'll kick things off, Bo, with the quarterback room, my guy.
Ooh, this is about as easy as it gets as far as the 53-man roster. It's when you start off and you just got an easy assignment to really kind of set the tone. 53-man roster prediction starts with the quarterbacks, and this was an easy 2-man room. Kyler Murray, and now, of course, the first year with the organization, Jacoby Brissett, who's been a very big bright spot throughout training camp, and of course, first 2 weeks of preseason. He's a guy that's thrown 3 touchdown passes. He's been efficient. Seen him be accurate with the football. Also, I like the sneaky quarterback sneak that he had with ease that looked far too hard last season. So Cardinals, they upgraded the quarterback room. There's a name missing that's been in that room for the last 2 years, and it's Clayton Tune. This is going to be the last dance for Clayton Tune come Saturday. It's just only a question of how much Clayton Tune are we going to get to see in his swan song. And do they bring him back as far as practice squad? But as far as the 53-man goes, no place for Clayton Tune.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the easiest position groups to outline. You can have a practice squad quarterback elevated on game day. So you never, unless you're the Browns, you never need to keep 4 quarterbacks on your active roster unless you're fearful that somebody is going to try to snipe your third quarterback, which whatever. I think the bigger question, Bo, you've outlined it, is are they going to keep Clayton Tune on the practice squad? Think about the fall from grace, and we've talked about it ad nauseum now, especially after the fallout from Saturday in Denver. Is Clayton Tune worth a practice squad role? And that might sound harsh, but the expectation for a practice squad quarterback is different than a backup to a backup left guard or a fourth safety or whatever it is. I think there's an expectation that you would elevate your third quarterback on game day. And does anybody feel comfortable right now, given what we've seen? Now, does it change my perception of him that Drew Terrell, who I really like, by the way, called plays Saturday and not Drew Petzing? I don't know. To me, it's he was so hesitant to where he was going with the football, and the lack of confidence was evident. The regression in him is obvious, and I get it. Denver is loaded defensively, but to me, it's I think it's 50-50s on the practice squad, and I'd be interested to see if he was gone for good, who they opt to bring in behind Jacoby Brissett.
Well, it's going to be a mass exodus in Cleveland. They've got about 97 quarterbacks, and there's familiarity there, whether it's Stu Huntley or do you go out and just kick the tires on whoever is cast aside there, because they're going to go with Joe Flacco, and they're going to keep in roster Shador and probably Dylan Gabriel. You look at Tommy DeVito, guys who have don't you dare Daniel Barnett say Rosen. I think he's selling real estate somewhere. I think he's working at his family's college. Yeah. Ozzy's saying bring in DeVito. Not too bad. There's going to be options, right? As far as if you want to do that, but I think early on you could potentially practice squad Clayton Tune, but you have to hope that things are okay as far as your starting quarterback and backup quarterback. So easy there, easy start, right? Is everybody's mock 53-man roster still intact? I think it is. I don't think that's an upset for anybody.
Yeah, 100%. Let's move on to running back, which is a little bit more tough to telegraph. Not really. Here they are. James Conner, fresh off a new 2-year contract, signed during the season last year, with handcuffed by Trey Benson, second-year player out of Florida State. He's had a nice training camp, not perfect, but nice. And then somebody who I've admitted I've done a complete 180 on, Amari DiMercato, undrafted once upon a time out of TCU. his third year with the Cardinals. He's looked outstanding this training camp. And then here's, the big, I think, pushback for a lot of Cardinal fans. DJ Dallas, not with a bloated salary, but with a salary that eclipses, I think, both Benson and DeMercado as RB4, but he is exclusively a special teamer. He was a Pro Bowl alternate in years prior as a kick returner. He was solid last year. He has not looked great this training camp. He fumbled 2 games ago in the preseason game against Kansas City. And to me, it's like, if he's on the team this year, this feels like kind of the last dance. I would personally rather see DeMercado return kicks, but he makes it over somebody like Michael Carter because why both? This is what they did a year ago.
Yeah, this is basically copy paste your running back room, and we'll see if they get the opportunity to keep Michael Carter within the organization. Like initially, it's going to be a cut, and then can you bring him back? I think there was a little bit teams stayed away because of what he was making last year, and I don't know if that's the same case this year. Something we'll have to look into. But DJ Dallas, I thought he rebounded fine from the preseason opener. I thought he, as far as his kick coverage last week, as far as being more sure-handed, as far as receiving kicks, DJ Dallas is going to be fine. He's got a long resume, a lot of tape where he's played well on special teams, and there's trust from Jeff Rodgers to Jonathan Gannon to Monty Ossenfort to play his role. If you're looking at it from a running back room standpoint, yes, Michael Carter is more dynamic with the ball in his hands than DJ Dallas. But the downside about Michael Carter is he can't play those other roles, and that's where DJ Dallas excels. So running back room, it's kind of the status quo, Johnny. And it's this was a pro Michael Carter show for the bulk of last season. We're just not going to bang people over the head of it just because it's the same thing. I mean, we're just going to be echoing the same points as we did last year.
Yeah, I'm firmly in the camp of I think Michael Carter is a better runner of the football than DJ Dallas, but as you've outlined, more to that position. And it's hurt Michael Carter with his ability to stick around on the active roster. He was a godsend when the Cardinals picked him up in 2023, played a big role in the upset against Philly, has always done a tremendous job manufacturing yards that aren't there. And frankly, I think he's a good compliment to James Conner. So it's not great if you're Michael Carter and his agent, but Cardinal, I would feel if he ever is elevated, I would feel confident he would have a role and be able to produce for this team. And that's a byproduct to Drew Petzing in this offense. And if I'm Trey Benson, I'm everybody's getting theirs as a running back in this offense when they're put in position to do so. What's Trey Benson's ceiling now? Because remember, Michael Carter once upon a time was a 4th rounder. Yeah. So again, just because where your draft status is doesn't mean that you're automatically going to produce. It's a good group nonetheless. It was one of the best in football last year. It continues on this year.
Yeah, I think, one last point about Carter. I mean, if the Cardinals are able to keep him within the organization again, I think it's bad news for Michael Carter. I think it's bad news for, scouting departments around the league, not picking up on this guy who, I mean, look at his yards per carry or yards per touch the last 2 seasons. All the guys done the last 2 years with the ball in his hands has gotten pretty good chunks of yards. And I look around at some of these running back rooms across the league, and it's that might be worth what he's making in his salary. Why not do it? So, but look, it could benefit the Cardinals at the end of the day. You're rooting for the team on the name on the front of the jersey. And if you can keep that name on the back of the jersey, that's great.
Yeah. Hammer the like, if you could, 500 likes here on a football Wednesday. Receiver, again, chalk it up, baby. Let's take a look. Marvin Harrison Jr. leads the group as the ex-receiver, followed by Michael Wilson. The big development in camp this year, if you've been watching our show, Zay Jones, as we reported early on, taking over as wide receiver 3. Greg Dortch still have a role as wide receiver 4, but it's kind of that gadget role. That's a little bit of a 4-letter word, but gadget role, running back, default, has an opportunity to return punts again. Then you got Xavier Weaver, fresh off his undrafted status last year. The Cardinals stashed him. He's looked great this training camp. Had a rocky time, no pun intended, in Denver. And then your boy Simi, rounding a receiving core out. The former, I believe, 4th rounder, 5th rounder, once upon a time, has been in the NFL for about 3 or 4 years. But he's got that size that you saw on full display catching that tutty with Jacoby Brissett on Saturday.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, anything you get, I think, from Semi Fioco in the passing game, it's just added value. I mean, this is a guy that's coming in. He's going to play the Zach Pascal role. He's going to be your primary blocking wide receiver, like Michael Wilson can block. Zay Jones can block.
Yeah.
As far as this group goes, like much like the running back room, you say DJ Dallas, like Semi Fioco is going to be this guy that's going to be playing special teams. He's going to be, you're like I said, the guy in the run game. And then if he sees a couple passes here and there, he looks like he's sure-handed. He looks like a decent route runner. So that's good. And then like the top of this thing, like you said, the difference there is Zay. And I was watching Zay today. He looks spry. He looks good.
Yeah.
We've seen him consistently look good through camp. And it's like it's going to be but the big part here is Marvin Harrison Jr. year 2. It's going to be like there's been a change in this wide receiver room as far as where the ball goes. And there used to be a pretty split target share. Those days are over.
Yeah.
I mean, we anticipate this wide receiver room, primarily the ball to go to Marvin Harrison Jr. and then go to the top of the tight end room and Trey McBride. And then everything else, like the leftovers, which there shouldn't be a whole lot of, go to Michael Wilson, go to Zay Jones, Greg Dortch if he gets slot routes in there.
Yeah.
Could he do like some of the things that he did towards the end of the season? So that's your wide receiver room. Like much of this offense, there's just not a whole lot of change to it.
Yeah, I was chatting with our diehard friend Brian earlier today, and again, there's questions about like, could Zay Jones like have more production than Michael Wilson? I couldn't envision that happening, but I also think like their production, unfortunately, could be only separated by a couple hundred yards and statistics because the ball load is going to go to 3 players offensively: James Conner, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Trey McBride, and then Kyler Murray, distinct runner. Like, is there ever a scenario in which this offense can develop? They're going to have, we hope they better have 2 1,000-yard receivers, but one of them is a tight end and one of them is, the 4th overall pick from last year. Most teams don't have that, right? And if they do, they certainly don't have a third. So it's a tough spot for the Michael Wilsons and now the Zay Joneses. You have to be ready when your name is called.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's you've got this huge investment in Marv, and he's undeniable, and you've got Trey McBride, who's emerged beyond what everybody's wildest dreams were. And it's like, wow, this guy commands the football. He's open. Like there was Trey McBride gets wide open all of a sudden. I think it's like he's still going to produce at a high level. Is there going to be enough with one football to go around for guys like Michael Wilson that you want to see get those opportunities? But wide receiver room looks good.
What about the offensive tight end room? I almost said offensive line group, but let's start with tight end. Again, this one's a quick one. We know Drew Petzing loves his tight ends. Trey McBride, the stalwart, the best tight end in the NFL, atop the depth chart. Higgy Bear, who's at, when he's been asked, has made some plays this training camp, relatively quiet. And then Tip Ryman, who we're going to, I'm sure, hear about every day on this show. Evergreen. Every player gets asked, every coach gets asked about Tip Ryman, who, I mean, he's tight end 3/tight end 2. He's the number 1 blocking tight end on this roster, and that's what he was drafted to do. And then our guy Travis as tight end 4. Bo, you think about it, this team, if they could, would keep 10 tight ends. They would keep infinite tight ends.
If it was up to Drew Petzing, they would have a full offensive roster of tight ends and only tight ends.
Yes. Vokalek, though, has had a good camp. I will say that.
Vokalek has had a good camp. Vokalek was on the 53-man roster for the entirety of the season last year. Very rarely active on game day.
Right.
He's the break glass in case of emergency, but a lot of trust from the coaching staff. Gannon, of course, your play caller, Petzing, Steele, your tight ends coach. And it's just kind of like, we like this guy. Now, could there be some roster gymnastics with a guy like Vokalek? Could they try to sneak him around, get him back on the practice squad, elevate him, whatever that may be? I think that he's a candidate for that, but I also could very much see them just saying we're not going to mess with it, and we're going to keep the 4 guys intact that we trust. And there's certainly a ton of that with this quartet.
Absolutely. So tight end, like receiver, like running back, like quarterback, easy to call. Offensive line, the first time we've got some major decisions. We're going to run through it here. Offensive line, Bo, for this team, we're keeping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 big heavies with some notable movement, both specifically at tackle, with the likes of Christian Jones landing on injured reserve.
Yeah, we'll see what the status of Christian Jones is, and as well his former Texas teammate and Hayden Connor, both of them dealing with a knee injury, not significant to where they're destined for surgery or anything like that, but that they're going to miss time. Are they going to be ready for the regular season? And does the team trust them enough to roster them? Could they benefit? Could their Cardinals career be extended because of these unfortunate injuries? I think that's possibly true. You look at of course, the 5. This was just something that was easy. We've known this since kind of they brought back Evan Brown, that they're going to run it back here. And Jonah Williams, there's maybe doubt as far as his return to right tackle. But, Monty Osford kind of squashed that at the combine and saying Jonah, they had high expectations for him going into year 2 of that big contract he signed. So, you got your starting 5 of Paris Johnson Jr., who you'll hear from later in the show, Evan Brown at left guard, Yellow Frohl at center, Isaiah Adams at right guard, and then Jonah Williams at right tackle. And you look at this depth, and I think to start the season, there's a little concern. I think you like your top 2 backups, Kelvin Beachum at swing, and then John Gaines in your interior, but you really like it when you can add a guy like Will Hernandez, who's on PUP right now, and then I think he would probably take the roster spot of a Royce Newman, who we've got making it here initially, the vet that came over, and then Josh Fryer, I think he benefits from the injuries and, of course, the familiarity with Justin Fryer, your new offensive line coach.
Yeah, don't you just feel like this was, something that since Fryer has gotten here, he's been put in a position to succeed based on, as you just mentioned, having a relationship with, his offensive line coach now at the pro level. You're in a position with Justin that you can develop this kid. He plays tackle. It's a premium position. He was undrafted, but at the same time, he comes from a blue blood program. You can't let those guys hit practice squads. You go through the rigors of a 17-game season, those guys are going to be snatched up. Like if you have a developmental tackle that you're high on, you better keep them on the active roster.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Fryer was an excellent collegiate player. Christian Jones was okay at the collegiate level and has not been good at the NFL level. The jump we saw from Isaiah Adams, and I know Adams was a better prospect, as a rookie to now is night and day from Christian Jones. And Christian Jones was always thought of as kind of like a moldable player, but he was very raw. And him being injured right now, not good timing. Whereas Fryer, to me, he has a lower ceiling probably, but tackle, it's all about guys who are backups. Can you come in and put out a fire? Can you not embarrass yourself and be a turnstile? I thought he's looked pretty good. He's had a couple of hiccup plays in the preseason where you're not great, but he's been more steady. And again, it just speaks to that's the program I want to target both in the draft and in undrafted free agency.
No doubt about it. So, you tweaked your answers a little bit. So your professor didn't know that you just copied the entire work from the previous semester. That's basically what we did here with this offense, and the Cardinals have done from 2024 to 2025 as far as this offense goes. Get the defense. We're going to get into the defensive side coming up next here on PHNX Cardinals.
Premier time right now. The betting scene is on fire. We are just, several days away from college football week 0. You can bet on it right now, as well as NFL week 1. It feels good to say that with our friends at Bet365. Never ordinary. See yourself with our same game parlay Sundays. Place a qualifying bet totaling $20 or more on NFL Sunday. Get up to $25 in bonus bets. Download the app. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365. They also do the football early payout offer with Bet365. You're a winner if your team goes up by 17 points. Then it's over. You're done deal. The game might be over, might not be over, but your payout's coming. Last season, both money lines were paid out 4 times as much because of the early payout and end result in the game. Again, download it right now. Plus, they've got their traditional $150 in bonus bets when you bet 5, deposit 10, win or lose. PHNX 365 is the bonus code. You got to be 21 years and older, physically located here in Arizona. If you were someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text next step to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov, Bo, for more info.
Man, I'm so excited about this brand new partnership we have with Mack Weldon and MackWeldon.com. I'm looking to place an order. They got the Air Knit Boxer Briefs, the skivvies, Johnny. Excited to add these to my underwear drawer. They've got so many options. They got the crew neck T-shirts. They've got the Ace sweatpants that look so comfy as soon as, of course, the temperatures dip below 100. I can't wait to put those on in the fall. I think I'm going to make the order for that. They got the crew neck sweatshirts plus the Radius 5-pocket pant. Looks awesome. Mack Weldon. And there's something for every kind of event. Like whether you're just going to go work out, they got the great, athletic apparel, or if you're looking to just go out on a night on the town, they got great looking clothes that you're going to look spiffy and snazzy. Check it out. Yeah, just tell them your 8-year-old friend Bo told you look spiffy in them. Mack Weldon. Use the code PHNX for 25% off your first order over $125. You get 25% off your first order of $125 or more at MackWeldon.com. That's MackWeldon.com. Promo code PHNX. Check out all the great stuff they have there on the website and get yourself some gear from our new partner we're pumped about, Mack Weldon.
Everybody hammer that like button. Again, the goal, 500 likes. Let's get those likes going as we're going here on a football Wednesday. We've given our offensive predictions. No hot takes yet. Again, a lot of this is going to be predicated on who ends up on injured reserve. I mean, as you've reported, others reported, like Justin Jones still not practicing, Bilal Nichols still not practicing. And that leaves us, Bo, right into probably the hottest competition on the roster. It's defensive tackle. Let's take a look here. We're going big. We're going from 6 to 7 at defensive line, starting with our guy, Calais Campbell. Dalvin Tomlinson returned to the practice field this week. D-Rob, of course, probably the standout of this group during training camp. We're throwing a curveball. Unlike the rest of this market, we believe Walter Nolan has a good shot to be on the active roster. We have not heard anything as it relates to IR or PUP as it stands right now. Doesn't mean it can't happen. And Dante Stills, LJ Collier is 6. And then roll the dice here, especially if you're stashing Walter Nolan. You don't want him to go on PUP or IR. Elijah Simmons, undrafted player, makes the roster as the 7th defensive tackle, which means, Bo, have to say goodbye, at least temporarily, to a couple vets.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we'll see if they can kind of utilize some of the injury lists, because these guys are currently not available due to being banged up. Bilal Nichols continues to be nagged by that stinger that he suffered last year in Green Bay, a long time ago, still trying to recover from it. And you've got Justin Jones, who hasn't been available the last 2 weeks with a knee injury. So, they haven't practiced. They haven't played in the preseason. And, it could be an option for them to continue their time as Cardinals. Maybe they even reach a settlement of some kind. We'll see what the organization wants to iron out. Or could they just kind of keep them as injured players? And then when if they suffer some other injuries, they could ramp these guys up and get them ready. But, it's Calais, it's Walter. It's Calais, it's Dalvin, it's D-Rob, it's Dante Stills as kind of your core 4. And then Walter Nolan, who it's just like, this guy, we don't know the true date of his injury. It seems like it was right next to when they were ready to.
I think it was like 2 or 3 days before camp opened.
That's probably about right. So that was a month ago. So we're 4 weeks removed from that. And then we're 3 weeks, from the kickoff of the season, right? I mean, that's a long time on the shelf. What's that, about 9 weeks? I mean, I'm sorry, like 7 weeks, 8 weeks. And then if you IR him, he's going to be out for the first 4 games of the season without the ability to practice. And I think that key right there is something they want to avoid, because it feels like he's closer to getting healthy.
Yes.
But you can't just you take out the ability for him to return, and you're only going to have two options to, I think, IR and then return those guys right out of the jump for the Cardinals.
You don't want to waste it on that. He's close. He's very close. I think the people that are, there's some assumptions going on that this is going to happen. And again, yeah, I've seen there's speculation that he's going to go on injured reserve. I think that's what we'll call it right now.
Yeah.
Because to Bo's point, and where we've consistently been at with this, is the practice is more important than appearing in a game right now. Robbing him of practice is more detrimental than anything. And I think they have enough depth on their team that you could carry him for a couple weeks while he practices and then roll him out week 2 or week 3. But think about this. If you IR him or put him on pup or what, let's assume it's IR. So then he can't practice for a month. Then he needs to practice to be ready for a game, which we've seen they want at minimum 2 to 3 weeks. So they're going to basically torpedo half of his season because of a technicality here with his time of return. That we've reported this, the wrap on his calf has gotten smaller and smaller every time, to the point where he looks good moving around. I think Ian Rappaport reported that there was a chance he could come back when the injury happened. There was a chance he could come back for the opener. He had to get some practices in. Gannon told us he hasn't had a setback. I think right now it's like jumping to the IR conclusion. And again, we could be incorrect on this, but just like say it out loud. It's like, what would be the benefit of this? He needs to practice. He needs to practice with his peers. He's going to get cleared health-wise before the start of the regular season. You need to do the roster gymnastics to figure it out, because the practice, to me, like, the Cardinals can win games without him. But then you are turning this into Darius from last year.
Well, when you start to look at the severity, the grades, injuries of the calf, right? There's the mild strain, grade 1, and usually heals within 1 to 2 weeks. So I think we've exited that, right? You can say it wasn't a grade 1, so it wasn't the easier one. Then you start to look at the moderate strain, which is grade 2, and that recovery is usually 3 to 6 weeks. If you're looking at a more severe injury, a grade 3, it sometimes carries surgery, and I think it would have disqualified him from, like, they probably would have never entertained him returning to start. So, like, I mean, when you think about, like, how long ago it's like by the time opening day or the kickoff of the season starts, it's going to be 45 days since they opened camp and we got word of his injury. And then you've got, the following next couple of weeks that you're going to have to wait out that he can't practice. So, like, that's another 21 days, and you're hitting about 70 days without this guy being able to practice. It just doesn't seem like it meets, the severity of the injury. But look, it's something to monitor. I think it's something we're keeping hopeful for. I think as far as the lack of practice, it does take him out of being able to suit up week 1 against the Saints, and probably takes him out from being able to suit up against the home opener against the Carolina Panthers. But can you potentially have him for week 3 against the San Francisco 49ers, and then on a short week against the Seattle Seahawks? I think that's something that the Cardinals want to be able to keep that door open for.
Yeah. We were told pretty emphatically that, like, missing games in terms of an injury designation to start this year was not on the table. That, how many weeks ago was that? Probably like 3 weeks ago. And he's only gotten better. And so, I mean, we heard about it with regard to other players that we expect, that I'm sure you all expect, but he was not in that group. So
calf is about one of the trickiest injuries to deal with. I mean, we dealt with it, obviously with Darius last year, and when he came back, it wasn't great, and then it just never was fully healed. So it's not a linear injury to where, you can feel good one day and then the next day you're not. So it's just something to really kind of keep tabs on, as the Cardinals, are less than a week from having to make a decision on this.
Yeah. Interesting. But yeah, any thoughts on Justin Jones, Bilal Nichols? We've talked about it ad nauseum. I mean, if hypothetically, if they're both injured reserve, not designated return, they're done for the year, correct?
Yeah, I think if there's only a couple guys you can designate to return, so
that's the equivalent of like cutting them without cutting them, putting them on IR.
yeah, and it's I think it becomes down to like, does the player feel like they want a settlement and they want to get out of Dodge? But one thing like people have been hanging their hat on is like the dead money. I think this eases that a little bit. Like, but there's no Cardinals have more than enough cap space to deal with whatever dead money they need to take on.
Right.
It's just, they're going to go with the best. I think usually like we have 7 on here now, but I think 6 is probably the sweet spot as far as defensive linemen they carry. And those guys just haven't made their case to come back in any capacity at this moment.
We got people asking about BJ Ojulari. We're going to get to that, but I'm with you. Like this is with all due respect to Justin Jones, like just didn't show anything during camp.
Yeah.
Of note, he was working on special teams. He was behind a bunch of guys that are lower on the depth chart already, and then he's hurt. Bilal Nichols has not practiced all summer, dating back to OTAs. Bilal Nichols will be IR'd or outright released. And the Cardinals have done right, by Sean Murphy-Bunting. He's still hanging around the team and rehabbing, even though he won't probably ever play down for this team again. So, yeah, that's a position.
He was in Denver. He traveled with the team. He's working with his teammates. Looks like he's moving around post surgery and looking like he's on the mend. But
he'll get a job this time next year. He'll work out for somebody. But let's get to the edge rush group. It's an easy one to knock out, Bo, because it's status quo. Sweaty J, Zaven Collins, Baron Browning, Jordan Birch, Xavier Thomas makes it now. He had a tough night on Saturday in terms of gap assignment and containment. BJ Ojulari is going to start the year on injured reserve. There's nothing that we've heard with regard to like his expedited recovery. And it's been a long recovery for BJ. I expect that to continue. The only movement I could see with this group is like if they wanted to get, if there was a possibility to upgrade like the back end of this depth chart, maybe you could swap out Xavier Thomas, but he plays special teams. They like his athleticism. I mean, this group's set, I think, until next offseason.
Yeah, I like the top 4. I really do. I think just how diverse the group is, the upside, I think, is as far as pass rush is there for the first time in a long time. Sweaty J bringing in double-digit sacks on his resume. Zaven Collins, I think, is a guy that's going to only improve on the last two seasons. Baron Browning as well. And then Jordan Birch has really eased the sluggish recovery from BJ Ojulari. Like Jordan Birch emerging this training camp is really welcome to that room and the future of it. And I think that can be your 4-man rotation, and then Thomas can play sparingly if at all. I think Ojulari's on the right track. I mean, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to get close to, like, if he gets IR'd, he could have the designation to return within the minimum and open up his practice window and get up to speed. But like, remember the first time Ojulari dealt with injury, and when he got back and we saw him in that preseason finale against the Vikings, he needs time. He needs time to get in there, and he's going to have to literally get up to speed and in football shape.
You get 8, count them 8, designated to return from injury during the regular season. So, I mean, Ojulari would get that, fit that build. If Walter Nolan had to use that, he would certainly get it. And then there are going to be guys that inevitably, unfortunately, get hurt during the regular season that you want to save it for.
Yeah.
So you're not burning these on the Joneses and the Nichols of the world. But Ojulari can help you when he's healthy. We just haven't seen that enough in Arizona. We're going to get to the major changes happening potentially at off-ball linebacker and the secondary. That's coming up. It's PHNX. But first, tell you about our friends at Pure Edibles. Pure Edibles, founded in Arizona, available in 130 dispensaries statewide. Again, Pure gummies are not covered in sugar like these other competitors. Pure is a full-fledged candy company offering gummies, kicks, their version of Starburst, soft candies like caramels. They've got hard candies. And again, they clearly, does Pure, list the effects of everything on the tin so you know exactly what you get. They were created in Flagstaff at Noble Herb Dispensary, the home of Pure Edibles, and is now made in Phoenix, Arizona. Pure gummies are designed to be ripped in half or a bit, making them easily shareable or easy to dial in your exact dose. Go find yourself some Pure edible products from one over 130 dispensaries across Arizona. So fired up to be partnered again with our friends at Pure Edibles, Bo.
Love that. Of course, grown here in Arizona. Love it. Love it. 130 dispensaries is insane. Just was seeing that one of the Cardinals rivals just pulled off a trade because they absolutely needed to. Somebody's on the move in the NFL, and we were on the move just a couple days ago with our friends at Two Men and a Truck. When life moves forward, they're going to be there. We love our guys over at Two Men and a Truck. Moving 480-991-1805. That's 480-991-1805. Check them out. And you don't have to really think twice about it because, I mean, we've got such fragile equipment. Like there's 3 cameras in front of me right now. We're big time. We got lights, we got TV, we got computers, and everything's intact. Everything is in full working order thanks to our friends at 2 Men and a Truck doing it at the highest level. Check them out right now. 2menscottsdale.com. 2 Men and a Truck, movers who care. Also check them out for your storage needs. If you're looking at maybe too much clutter around you and you want to maybe offload some things into storage, you got other storage needs, check them out right now. They're great for it. For all your storage needs, visit 2menscottsdale.com and learn more about their storage solutions. 2 Men and a Truck, 480-991-1805.
Big thanks to everybody watching this video. Hammer that like button. Become a diehard. Go PHNX.com. We have gone through the front 7. Let's look at the back 7 now, specifically off-ball linebacker. This is a tough one because I think in the perfect world, Bo, the Cardinals would like to keep everybody. Mm-hmm. They have, though, in years prior, only kept 3. They routinely play more than 2, if not 1 off-ball linebacker at one time. So let's take a look at how the final depth chart shakes out here on PHNX Cardinals. Mack Wilson Sr., Akeem Davis-Gaither, and Cody Simon, which means Owen Pappoe unfortunately cut. He was playing late into that fourth quarter. I think he'll play a lot to showcase some tape on Saturday, but this is not a premium position, unlike their last regime for the current one for the Arizona Cardinals. And if you want to be able to keep 7 defensive linemen, if you want to be able to keep 9 offensive linemen, this is a position group that the Cardinals probably feel like they can get by with 3 for now.
Yeah, Mack Wilson is the guy that gives you the ability to do that as you kind of work in some guys with inexperience. Akeem Davis-Gaither was primarily a special teams guy with the Bengals until he got his opportunity late in the year last year. Mm-hmm. He played a lot of defensive snaps. Can he kind of play opposite Mack Wilson when they're in those 2 off-ball linebacker defensive setups? And then you got the 4th round pick that I think a lot of people like that we heard from Jonathan Gannon today. I think there are a lot of positives with Cody Simon. He's putting himself in the right position. He's playing fast, but then you watch the game and you see him maybe not be great with his tackling technique. And he just needs a little bit more maturing and development there. So I think this is your 3-man guy group. And like ADG can play special teams and Cody Simon can play special teams because I think that's a key as far as them being on the roster. And like we know Pappoe can play special teams. I just think like you can't have like 3 of the same guy. And he just seems to be the odd man out.
Yeah. Again, like Cody Simon, I think his instincts have been in the right place. Just hasn't finished well enough to earn this spot yet. Whereas Akeem Davis-Gaither, I think he's kind of winning the job by default right now. I mean, you got to go out there and earn it. As a draft pick for Cody Simon, I think he will get there. But this is alphaed by one man, and it's Mack Wilson Sr. And Baron Browning and Zaven Collins have positional flexibility where they can help out to clean things up in the middle as well if the Cardinals want to go extra heavy. But there are going to be times where it's just like Mack Wilson Sr. and let's bring Budda Baker up to the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. And I think Cardinal fans are just fine with that. So Owen Pappoe, we're predicting probably last go around here on Saturday night. What about cornerback group? A lot of moving parts here, Bo, dating back to last offseason. Sean Murphy-Bunting departed, right? We've got injuries to guys like Starling Thomas to begin training camp. What remains? Who remains? Here's our breakdown. Garrett Williams, the default CB1. We've got Max Melton and Will Johnson, the high-profile 47th overall pick. Back-to-back top 100 selections at corner. And then you've got Denzel Burke, who has shown out despite a tough week in Denver. Denzel Burke's had a nice camp. So you've got rookies there on the back end of the starting group. Darren Hall had an interception against Kansas City. And then Elijah Jones making this group by default. Elijah Jones, who missed all of last year, a third rounder out of the ACC, injured reserve. This year he's healthy, and he's got a ways to go. The learning curve is steep. But you look at this bowl, no Keitrell Clark.
Right. Yeah, this was a hot debate that I was talking about in the Cardinals media room today, where a lot of people actually are higher on Keitrell Clark and his usage, with the second team versus Elijah Jones, who's seen a lot of time with the third team. Like when you look at, I think the first four guys on this list, I think you can Sharpie them in from Williams, Melton, Johnson, Burke. And then after that, it gets a little murky. And, Darren Hall had that preseason opener that looked great. And of course he had last preseason where I think he flashed. Is he a guy that they think can be consistent enough that if they need to call upon him, they can rely on him? Obviously they like the makeup of Keitrell Clark. You've seen more productivity though, like in Darren Hall's opportunities. And I think he's just a little bit bigger. I know he can play just like Keitrell. He's versatile. I think Hall, to me, gets the nod. But look, Keitrell Clark has survived all the way up into this point, entering his third season with his team as a sixth rounder out of Louisville. And then I think that they do have a bit of a luxury because of the steadiness up top. I know there's a lot of youth, but the ability to just stash around a former third round pick that's not close. Like if you're just basing it on how has he looked, like Elijah Jones doesn't have any business making this team, but are you willing to part ways with him? That I think a team like the one you're going to face in the opener or some of these bottom of the barrel teams have the ability to just pick up an Elijah Jones and throw him on the roster, and you're out a top 100 pick just a year later.
You're not going to give up on a guy a year or two in. That's why B.J. Ojulari's on this team, right? Whereas you're much more likely to part ways with a vet like a Justin Jones and a Bilal Nichols when you're, less invested in terms of draft capital and the money's all equal. So, yeah, it's disappointing for Keitrell because he's been healthy, he's been available. And I think in a perfect world, you could keep him around as a special teamer. He's been a good soldier. He was starting games as a rookie on a bad team in 2023. But, unfortunately for Keitrell, it's guys have been brought into this organization. They've leveled up this position group maybe better than any yet. Garrett Williams, who is a star in the making, Max Melton, who was underrated last year. And then we've talked ad nauseum about Will Johnson. And then Denzel Burke falling into their lap. Austin Ford has not, unlike Keim, has not passed on the opportunity to bring in high-end corner play. Yeah. And that's been bad news for Keitrell. Whereas, if you were Keitrell Clark after the 2023 season, you probably thought to yourself, hey, I'm going to be around this franchise. I'm going to stick around. And it's the unfortunate numbers game, and he's on the outs on our list.
Yeah. I'm excited to see Will Johnson get his, opportunity to start at outside, with Max Melton. You're looking for a jump there. It's a group that I think has a ton of talent, especially the first three guys. They're going to have to stay healthy as they've been bit, as you mentioned, by the injury bug in the offseason and in training camp with SMB and Starling Thomas. But it's still one that has its players that you feel confident can get it done. We should jump to the safeties and special teams, but we should do that first if we talk about our tremendous partners here at PHNX Cardinals.
Talking about partners, I'm ready to partner with Game Time to save money on tickets every single time I'm on the Game Time app. We were just in sunny Denver, Colorado. Myself, Bo Brack, our families. Noah Man was there. Noah Man had some family in town. We all took in a Rockies game as the D-backs put on a whooping on Colorado, and we got premier tickets along the third base line. I'm just going to tell everybody right now, I get it. It's the Rockies. They're not very good. Under $20.
Should have been the third base line.
What was it? Yeah, it was third baseline.
Remember with the sun
First
thing?
baseline.
The sun thing?
Yeah.
And it was like, when do you get out of the sun?
I confused third and first, and I'm not going to confuse my love affair with Game Time, though, because I have strayed at times from the Game Time app. Never again. I've made mistakes. Mistakes were made.
Yep.
Thankfully, they're not in the form of saving money. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the bonus code PHNX for $20 off your purchase. That would have bought you a ticket to the Rockies game last week, by the way. Terms and conditions apply. Again, create an account. Redeem the code. It's PHNX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute ticket, lowest price guarantee.
That's great. I'm putting on my my rally cap for our friends over at Rally House. How about this? Rally House. With my rally cap going on, the spot,
Beautiful.
the go-to spot for your favorite local Arizona team with tens of thousands of products to shop from. I got the pennant over my shoulder. We got the helmet over here. You can find items just like that over our friends over at Rally House in 3 different locations in the Valley of the Sun, Glendale, Mesa, Tempe. Have you checked out Rally House for all your game day needs, like hats? They've got all of them. They got jerseys, the best selection in drinkware, signage, coolers, socks, even sunscreen. SPF #1 fan. That's what it is. They carry Arizona sports teams. Every time you visit Rally House, you're guaranteed to find something new, unique, and matches the game day vibe that you want. Check them out. Find your local Rally House location and shop their entire product assortment online at rallyhouse.com. That's rallyhouse.com. I'm going to turn my rally cap inside out, but always rally cap for Rally House, rallyhouse.com.
Big thanks to all of our partners today, making us the #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast. That's a big thanks to everybody here. We appreciate you. As we continue on with our prediction here, let's go to the safety room. And again, a little bit of a hot button discussion on the back end. One decision that remains to be made and was probably our toughest one toward the end, as we needed to trim from 54 to 53. No Keaton Crawford. We'll get to that here in a second. Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson. Thompson in a contract year. Baker re-signed. One of the greatest Cardinals of all time. Robert Taylor Demerson, who's had a good camp, had a rough outing like most against Denver. And then special teams ace Joey Blount sticks around over Keaton Crawford. Now, here's where I'm at with this. Joey Blount probably needs to be on this roster because the special teams, Bo, have had such turnover from last year. Victor Dumacagey and Jesse Lucchetta and Dennis Gardeck, all these guys that were just consistent for Jeff Rodgers, they're gone. So as we introduce a bunch of new guys, is it in the best interest? Like, is Keaton Crawford a better special teams player than Joey Blount right now? Probably not. Is he a better safety, though? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think this is a coin flip. I think this is tough. I think there's no way, though, they're keeping 5 safeties.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, could Walter Nolan and his status being known help out potentially doing the unthinkable and carrying that many? And it's like, you have to look at it as you got 3 safeties on this team and then potentially 2 guys who can excel in the third phase of this game in special teams and Joey Blount and Keaton Crawford. I mean, they drafted Keaton Crawford with that idea that he can play on 4th downs as well as he did at Nevada. And then he showed you something as far as the safety spot goes with the interception in the first game. It's just, is it a bit redundant to have Joey Blount, Keaton Crawford at a non-premium position to play special teams? Like, I think that's where you kind of get in that numbers crunch. That's just unfortunate. I mean, I think that they could keep Keaton. I do. But like Joey Blount and Blake Gillikin look like Shaq Kobe alley-ooping it down and penning teams deep in their own territory on 4th down. So you have to like the upside, and I think they'd like to find a way to keep Keaton Crawford a part of the organization, if not on the 53. But if it comes down to it, him and a guy that's going to be depth or a key contributor, like, it's an easy decision.
The Cardinals are going to have to make some tough calls here over the next week, and this is one of them. I think, like, Keaton Crawford, and we're going to talk about some of these other guys who are like on the fringe. Like, first, it's like one of those with March Madness, like first 5 out, first 5 in, whatever it is. Like, that's tough for the Cardinals. And we're gonna break that down here. Special teams, as you mentioned. I mean, Gillikin, fantastic. What we saw last year from Jeff Rogers' group, Chad Ryland, Aaron Brewer. I mean, this is chalk it up. Noah Man crushing it with these graphics today. Let's talk about, like, we're gonna put it on our social here, but guys who ended up on injured reserve for this team, Bo. Let's kick things off with somebody like Will Hernandez, who, if he was healthy, he'd be on this team right now.
Yeah, I've got these guys as injured, right? I didn't want to just straight up put them on IR because we've been talking about kind of the roster maneuvering that you could do, and like, where are they going to go? Are they going to go with the designation to return? I think Hernandez certainly is going to be one of those guys that gets that. But yeah, this is a little bit longer of a list than I think you want it. You can. Starling Thomas is lost for the season. Jaden Davis, we'll see where he's at. The defensive back that was mostly practice squad last year. But these are guys that you thought maybe could be in competition to play significant snaps, and here they are. I mean, I think Will Hernandez is really the true guy on this list. That's gonna, in 4 weeks or probably longer than that, get his window open and then activated inevitably. And then these other guys, I could see them, especially Hayden Connor, facing maybe a redshirt season, and then Christian Jones doing that himself as well, and buying him some time as far as to develop.
Yeah, Will Hernandez will be back. He'll get a designation to return. Same thing, for somebody like BJ Ojulari. Like, you can pencil those in. But I don't feel as confident with the rest of these guys. Like, if you told me Hayden Connor through Bilal Nichols, none of these guys came back, it's like, okay, I even if they're healthy, what do they provide you? Which is my biggest question mark. Like, Christian Jones, I don't want to see him in a game. Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones, like, what, they haven't been good for years. So it's like, I think these decisions, unfortunately, are going to be easy ones. Let's talk about the cuts. For the Arizona Cardinals, the notable ones that we made throughout our fight for 53, headlined by Clayton Tune. And again, the bigger thing for Clayton is whether or not he's back on the practice squad. Michael Carter, we've outlined, a staple. The Cardinals would love to have him on the practice squad. And then you've got, a trio of defenders that, listen, Papo, 5th rounder, Clark, 6th rounder, Keaton Crawford, 7th rounder. At position groups where there are established guys, there's premium talent that's been spent, or premium draft picks that's been spent, especially at DB. Keaton Crawford's behind 3 stud, defensive backs. Now, could Keaton Crawford crack this group next year if Jalen Thompson's gone? Maybe. And then we outlined Papo's, the minute that Cody Simon was drafted, it was bad news for Owen Papo. So any notable omissions from this group, Bo? Anybody that just missed it?
I mean, I think one of the keys here is some of these guys, if not all of them, have a really good chance of getting and staying with the organization. But I mean, as far as, you've got guys, I think, especially at the bottom of your offensive line group, that are just missing this, like Royce Newman, Josh Fryer. We talked about Elijah Simmons, who we like. I think he sneaks by. Xavier Thomas, I think, is a guy that's really, his 53-man roster status is going to be on thin ice, especially when BJ Ojulari is ready to return. Like, I think XT is the odd man out in that room. So yeah, it certainly is a list that can get longer. And I think, Darren Hall and Elijah Jones, like, they're on the chopping block, but I think, they could sneak by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah. Disappointing for, guy like Clayton Tune, but I think Clayton Tune had just been steady like he has been the last 2 years, and there was enough there to be on the practice squad. I think it's really disappointing, I'm sure, for him to just be thinking about, and maybe he's been told he's going to be back. So this is all hyperbole, but like, you can't regress in the NFL. That's tough.
We made it through the entire 53, the injured guys in cuts, and we continue on in overtime here at PHNX Cardinals OT. Pew, 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 pew. Thank you to everybody that tuned in via our streaming partners. The party continues over at gophnx.com. As we've got, of course, your super chats are coming on, and this discussion continues on. But yeah, how do you feel about the final 53? Where do you feel like the biggest strength of this roster is?
I think the line of scrimmage. That's why I have no issue with the offensive line having 9 and the defensive line having 7. Go heavy on those groups. Like, this team was built from the inside out as opposed to how Keim used to do it with all the wide receivers that did not return on investment. Same thing with off-ball linebacker. And it's like, I love what the safety position represents historically for this franchise. It's not an impact position anymore in the NFL. So again, like, I would keep a developmental tackle from Ohio State that was undrafted over a fifth safety. That's just me, that's my personal preference. I would keep an undrafted nose tackle from the SEC that's had a good camp over another off-ball linebacker. I think it's about priorities and how you expect to win over the course of 17 games. Those positions are lower on the threshold for me. So again, it doesn't mean that those players don't matter and you can't get good production out of them. But like Christian Jones goes on IR, like, number one, don't designate him to return. I have not seen enough. Josh Fryer, to me, he could be a guy that could be a swing tackle next year when Beachum retired.
And I think it was Jalen Blair that made this point. And this was the conversation we were having in the press room today. Like, you do initially get 2 designations to return. Now, like, can you put a guy in your 53 man and then IR him and then, go through all that?
You get the 8 during the regular season.
Yeah. So it does make it a little trickier. Like, and that's the Nolan conversation too. Like, if you can avoid IR, that opens up another spot to IR somebody and bring them back. So that's a big part of this equation that Monty Ossenford. When we talked to JG today, and you could tell JG wanted to focus on this roster practice today instead of our dumb questions today. But like he had mentioned, as far as like the IR stuff, that's all Monty's department. Obviously, they're going to work in concert here, and they're going to, do all that, and it's gonna be done between now and of course a week from yesterday. There's a lot that's going to go into it, as far as practice tomorrow and the game on Saturday, and then getting it Monday night. Really, all those things squared up to where they're not making an accident, having an IR guy for the entirety of the season, or a guy that's designated return that can come back in 2 weeks instead of the minimum 4 weeks. That's right. Just stuff that you got to figure out.
It's difficult. And again, we'll see how much transpires on Saturday. We have no idea right now. Mike, I want to see an offensive regular season game before I glaze this O-line. Have you been watching this team's O-line last 2 years? It's been one of the best units in the NFL. But
man,
sure. I mean, it's
Jonathan Jr., man. He's the real deal.
They allowed less than 30 sacks last year. They had a top 5 run blocking O-line. Yeah, their quarterback's elusive, but I don't know. I thought the O-line looked great in Kyler Murray's 2 possessions, and I thought it looked great with Jacoby Brissett last week with the backup. So
18 plays, Kyler Murray passed 10 of them, and like nobody was close to him.
The Cardinals have some problems. I happen to think it's not on the offensive line. Yeah. What do you make of this? There's people. Sky Moore goes to the 49ers because he just can't play, and they're scrambling. Robbie Anderson, Sky Moore, and a ham sandwich at that receiving
Shanahan can unlock him. Andy Reid couldn't with Patrick Mahomes, but Shanahan would probably unlock him, according to the national media. What a deal for the Niners, who lost a player for 3 games today, one of their other wide receiver players. But we can't admit that things are not well in the Bay Area.
Don't you feel like people are overreacting with the Cardinals receiving core? I've seen that on Twitter, like the last couple of days, that the Cardinals need to go after a wideout. I mean, like I think they like their wideouts.
Play to take over like Michael Wilson's spot?
I don't even know. I guess.
I just think the offensive ecosystem, the passing game, I think there's only it's like a 2-target offense right now. I mean, there's the run game, and then it's Trey McBride, it's Marvin Harrison Jr., and then like you're going to add another person to the equation to just kind of pick up the slop to get the leftovers. I think you're probably better served to have more, role player complementary pieces.
Yeah. I mean, they looked at a receiver supposedly on day 2 last year or this year in the draft. It just didn't transpire. Wasn't a great receiver draft to begin with. I like Michael Wilson too, Andrew. I think
I like Zay Jones too. I like Greg Dortch in the right to get the ball in his hands. Yeah.
Listen, we're going to be able to break down this passing game. And if it looks good, then I think it's going to quiet everybody, and then we'll go through the rigors of a 17-game season. If it looks bad, then everything is open to criticism, including the personnel. So,
yeah.
Speaking of criticism, there was a blurb from Dan Graziano, who does a nice job for ESPN. He's tapped in from time to time. And Bo, you sent this to me. He had a breakdown of kind of the vibe around Kyler Murray entering 2026. So most likely outcome. The Cardinals have a good enough season, maybe even good enough to contend or snag a playoff spot and stay the course with Murray through at least 2026. Murray plays well enough, he could be in a position to ask for an extension that offers him more security than his current deal. And then the long shot outcome is the Cardinals collapse, people in charge get fired, new regime comes in and decides the best thing for this franchise is to move on at quarterback. Murray becomes a top candidate to be released or traded, while one of the top. So I like Dan. This feels very much like, no duh. This is probably the most consistent messaging we've had. If the Cardinals implode this year, of course they would get somebody else. If they are mediocre to slightly above average, you bring him back, maybe with some, a draft pick. And then if he plays well, then you extend him. That's the NFL.
Yeah. Thank God this is what Dan views as the long shot outcome, because that is the worst of all realities. And you like that he's kind of more betting on that they have a good season and, they stay the course with K1, because I think that is the most likely outcome for him in the Cardinals. And, not only would it kind of trend towards him potentially staying longer and getting more guaranteed money, because a lot of the guarantees run out after the 2026 season. It also would probably lock in your head coach beyond his first contract. And like a lot of good things come from that. And I think the Cardinals have put themselves in a position for that success. Now they've got to go out and do it, right? They have to win football games. So I think Graziano has a pretty good sense of this, right? I don't disagree with a lot of what he said. There was, I think, a bigger blurb in that article that he wrote, and I encourage people to go to ESPN.com and check it out. About 2026, the offseason, it's not unprecedented if they moved off of Kyler there, that it would cost probably a $58 million dead cap charge, which we've seen happen now, like in recent off seasons, but it's unlikely. And I think where you've seen like probably the most likely scenarios, if they moved off, it would be via trade.
He's an asset. And I know there are people in this market, there are people in this fan base, and you have the right to your opinion, that feel like he's not an asset. I mean, the team's about to start Spencer Rattler in the opener. There's a team that has to talk themselves in a fan base to Daniel Jones. Like, I think Kyler Murray, if he wins the amount of games expected by Vegas, then he'll be here next year.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about like the ceiling with Kyler Murray, that's a conversation. But like, don't torpedo this team's ability to get to the playoffs, and don't poo-poo that just because you feel like Kyler Murray can't get this team to a Super Bowl. Like, you can take gradual steps. The comp that I always go to, it's like Alex Smith got the Chiefs to the playoffs and, had his best year, the year they drafted Mahomes, and then they upgraded, right? And like, Kyler Murray's a hell of a lot more talented than Alex Smith is. But that's the kind of what I'm getting at is like, I view Kyler Murray as somebody that can be a playoff quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And then I think given the roster and the infrastructure and the coaching, like how much better, I think that remains to be seen. But I am also not naive to sit here and say like the ends of the season have been awful.
Yeah.
And they have to be better. And if they're not, and this is a theme for every year indefinitely, then you have to be able to pivot if necessary.
Remember that slow burn of Alex Smith's career, right? He went from like kind of a bust in San Francisco to Jim Harbaugh, turn him into a good quarterback, and then he gets, Wally pipped by Kaepernick.
Right.
And he goes on to KC. He's got like a season where he doesn't throw a touchdown pass to a wide receiver. Like he's throwing it to tight ends and running backs and stuff. You're like, can this guy play quarterback? And then he finds it, right? And he's the leader of that team. And then he gets dealt after a playoff appearance because they've got this unbelievable prospect in Patrick Mahomes. But that was the evolution, right? And it was slow, but he progressed. And can Kyler take, the same? Can he take the same path? It took having a good team in place, right? Those Niner teams where Smith was drafted 1-1 were terrible. They were awful. They're not the Niners that you're used to seeing the last couple of years until Harbaugh got there and changed the culture, right? Similar things that are happening here and built the team. And then he goes to KC and Reed gets his hands on that organization and rechanges the culture and becomes this game manager. And it extends more than that. Like that's the blueprint. Now you just got to do it. And it feels like this is the season in place for Kyler in order to do so. So, I don't think you can argue with what Graziano's logic is here, just looking at all the different pieces and scenarios and like him saying the least likely is an ugly situation, but you at least have to say, hey, this is possible.
And I don't think anybody assumed the only way they bottom out, I think, is if Kyler gets hurt. And then they can't say, okay, this roster is too fortified.
You look at Jacoby and you're like, I think Jacoby can run this offense.
Right. Their floor, I talked to somebody in Denver, NFL insider, their floor is 8 or 9 wins, and their ceiling is much higher than that. So, again, like 8 or 9 wins keep you employed if you're Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenford. And it lets you bail water until you find the next guy. But they're not just going to be in the business of giving away their franchise quarterback. Right. And he is a franchise quarterback. His left tackle happens to think so as well, that being Paris Johnson Jr. He and K1 incredibly close. And, Bo, you had a chance to connect with Paris earlier today, and he was dropping one-liners after one-liners.
Yeah.
Is what I feel like the a budding star at left tackle. What were your takeaways today in Tempe?
Yeah, well, it's just like hear him and his thoughts as far as just playing the left tackle position and where he is going into year 3.
I love where we're at. With the ones I'm able to speak on the most because that's where I'm in on. But I love our communication. I love the flow that we have. I love how fast some mistakes can get corrected in one meeting. And then we're able to attack the next day. We're not seeing repeat mistakes, which I love to see. And I think all the guys see that. And I love that all the drills we're doing with Coach Fry have been able to translate, which I think has been phenomenal. And I think I love what I'm seeing out of the young guys in the room with Josh Fryer, with JB. Those guys are great, especially on the edge. I watch Hayden on the inside, but I can't really give the center coach points. I can't. That's not my expertise. But when I'm watching JB and I'm watching Josh, those guys look great and they're having fun. So we just want to keep the whole room continue to move forward.
So good things to hear as far as the offensive line group. I made the mistake. I didn't send Noah the clip, but basically Paris Johnson said, unless a defensive end, a DN, gets a jump and isn't flagged for it, he's not going to get beat on the edge. He feels confident as far as just his size, his athleticism, his technique. He feels like it's all in place, and he plays with a calmness because he's got that confidence that he's got all the tools to succeed, and that's what you want to hear. He was asked about his relationship with Kyler Murray. It's basically like, it's just kind of like a fist bump here. Like it's the quiet stuff. Like if you're not hearing about it, it's a good thing. Like your left tackle's doing his job and Kyler Murray's not having to yell at, his blindside protector. Like, hey, what the hell happened? He's like, he's keeping guys away from Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's going back there and operating like he did, in week 1 of the preseason. I know he had the pick, but that wasn't the offensive line's fault. Keep it going here as far as Paris Johnson Jr. We'll go with the first team offense and just where he believes they are right now.
I mean, when the ones are up and we're called up, walk sideline the field from into the huddle to the line of scrimmage, that intent has gone up so much because I think dudes just know how good our offense is, and what we can do when we put it together. And it's not a question of ability, it's not a question of the motor, it's not a question of the toughness. those things are all answered. Now it's just execution, talk about it, execute. I think that's the fun part.
There's this group. There's a 6th overall pick at left tackle, right? Paris Johnson Jr., who's emerging in his 3rd year, 2nd year at his natural position. You got the number 1 overall pick at quarterback. You got James Conner in the backfield. You got the 4th overall pick in Marvin Harrison Jr. You've got one of the best tight ends in the league in Trey McBride. They know they have the pieces. Now they have to go and be intentional as far as how they're competing and how they're executing, because they know that it's more than just showing up, that it's going to produce results. They have to go out there and they have to get them. And it comes from, a playmaking standpoint and a play calling standpoint. And it all has to come together.
Emphasis on play calling. Paris Johnson, only 24 years old, had a PFF grade last year of 80.8. There was a time in my life I would have sold my soul for an 80 PFF grade from a Cardinal left tackle. So, we're eating good here in the desert.
Yeah.
I mean, is it perfect? It is not. But Paris Johnson Jr., he came out of the Cardinals. He's one of the best players on the team as a rookie. He's everything you want in a he's a franchise.
When you think about this with the offensive line position, when was the last time they had 2 players on their offensive line that were homegrown, that you had a lot of confidence in like they have right now?
Never.
Never.
Deuce Latui and Levi Brown started during the playoff run of 2008. You didn't feel good about it, especially with Levi Brown.
Right.
Not the Arians O-lines were free agency built. And they did fine.
They had Ayupati, they had Valdir, like probably the best group they had, right?
As a 4th rounder, and then the Cliff years, not great. So to me, Isaiah Adams is like the first true like mid-rounder offensive lineman they've hit on in my adult life. So it's just time. Pour one out. Producer Noah, times have been tough here. Pour yourself a cocktail and look at the Cardinals.
I think producer Noah is going to get a big number 74 jersey. He's the president and CEO of the Isaiah Adams fan club.
That's right.
Yeah. He's electric.
Well, and then they have the foresight to be able to get Yelda Froholt, who was a backup, and turn him into, according to PFF, a top 10 center in the NFL, which they've never had. Get ready next year. They're going to add a right tackle in the draft, and that player is going to kick ass, because this is my biggest problem with the Drew Petzing experience. He does so many things well, from quarterback protection. I'm not deal with.
Did you do that? It's still possible that you signed that paper and you're going to be singeing your backside because of it. But look, it's good. Thank you for your service.
Absolutely. I got a price to pay. Sell my soul for a Lombardi trophy, maybe. Drew does so many things well schematically to keep Kyler Murray upright and in a dominant run game. But there are people in this community. Is he better suited to be a run game coordinator / senior assistant on the roster? I'm not there yet, but if the passing game this year is not good and the concepts aren't great, they're not scheming people. If they're scheming people open, Kyler Murray's not hitting them, I will come on the show and be like, it's not Drew Petzing.
Right.
But if the passing game concepts are stale again, and they were awful last year at times, then I will be in that boat of, I like Drew Petzing and what he brings to the table. It's not good enough to be a high-end offensive coordinator, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah. Paris was talking about his affinity for pass pro, and that's great. That's the mentality you want to have from your left tackle, right? But we know also that this offensive line as a group loves to get out and bulldoze as a run blocking unit, right?
Yeah.
Just go out there and impose your will on a defensive player. That's what they're all about. But it seems like there's more of a, not just an emphasis, but a will to pass block. And I think with that can create, more opportunities for Kyler Murray to find, open receivers downfield.
Yeah. I'm excited about this unit.
Not bad.
Will we see them Saturday? Are they done for the preseason?
No info on that. No info yet.
Nothing. We got one super chat today. Our guy Jonathan 199 Ball poses to you fantasy football question. Marvin Harrison Jr. or Garrett Wilson both had subpar years according to expectations last year, although one of them has Justin Fields throwing them the football this year.
Yeah.
So I ask you that.
I think I give the edge to MHJ. I mean, I know that Wilson is a more established receiver in this league, 2 former Ohio State guys, but I felt even like when Fields was having success winning games in Pittsburgh last year, his top receiver and George Pickens wasn't exactly tearing it up, and it took Russell Wilson to get back. And I was a fantasy owner of Pickens at the time, and it was way better with Russ in the lineup than it was with Fields, even though Fields, can do so much on the ground with his legs. It wasn't great for the deep passing attack. So, and wasn't Fields just atrocious this past week?
Yeah.
It was really bad, right?
I mean,
1 for 8 or something.
And then you're passing in the elements, whereas Kyler Murray gets the AFC and the NFC South indoors. It's got to be Marvin.
Yeah.
I mean, Garrett Wilson is kind of quarterback proof for his first 3 years in the NFL. He's got 1,100 yards every year.
Yeah.
1,100 yards, 5 to 7 touchdowns. He's a really good player. Marvin was drafted, and the expectation should be 12, 13, 1,400 yards. And, we saw last year Marvin, an off year, had 8 touchdowns. Garrett Wilson's never had 8 touchdowns. Could Marv had 13 touchdowns this year? That's the goal. I would draft based on where I think the ceiling is, and Marvin has a higher ceiling.
You had the one more clip from Paris, but I know why you probably wanted to get past it. You didn't want to hear about Tip Ryman as we continue.
I think that one was corrupt. It was corrupt in the upload for the.
No, I think it works fine. Tip Ryman setting the tone for the Cardinals on offense.
Yeah, I mean, we're all trying to. I mean, right now, off that one preseason game, we're all trying to get as many plays like Tip on tape. I know, his personal foul, diving on him and all that, but I don't think anybody in the room was mad at it. You know what I mean? Because we were all same situation. You knock somebody down off one hit that fast, you kind of want to do that. It's fun. It's fun to watch the next day. And that's kind of stuff you talk about in the huddle. We want to show execution, but we want to put some plays on film of just being, just playing hard, being able to finish guys. You see that happened. He wanted to finish them. We want more of those type plays across the line. We want to be able to beat Tip out with the knockdowns. And Tip's goal is to beat everybody in the offensive line room with knockdowns. So, I mean, it's just more competition,
You want to tip out. That should be your philosophy in life, Johnny Venerable, is to tip out in everything you do.
Yeah, tip out, baby. Tip out in this passing game. I'm going to tap out. I might tap out instead of tip out with this passing game in 2025. All the Tip Ryman puns are fun and games until the team's down 14 in the second half and can't throw the ball downfield. Where are your Tip Ryman memes then? Oh, I love his grit. He can, pass through, he can run block, and he plays special teams. Awesome. I'd like a real passing game concept, please. Again, it's not Tip the player. It's just what he represents with, the OC. It's just not good enough yet.
Just goes to show how soft you are. You're not built like Tip. You're not a guy that likes to get your hands dirty. You're not violent. You're not physical. You're just soft. And even when you got guys like Paris Johnson Jr., you respect complimenting them. You can't take it, and you swing down, and it's really unfortunate.
How about this? This is a nice little super chat from Donnie, $4.99. Just got a job as a part-time scout for my college. Northern Iowa. Nice. Been to Northern Iowa before. Beautiful place. Beyond thankful. Social media doing me wonders. Really doing me wonders. Go Cards. Well, congratulations, Donnie. We appreciate you supporting the show. Good luck with your job as a part-time scout.
Kurt Warner, David Johnson, right there in Northern Iowa. Love that. It's a sneaky. Had some good football talent come out of that school, and that's awesome, man. Donnie, picking spreads, huge on TikTok. Give him a follow there. Learn a few things about ball. He's a big time ball knower, and just goes to show at UNI they're realizing it, and he's going to move up the chain there.
Now they're picking spreads. Donnie super chat did work on OTs 4 in 2026. Could see 3 to 6 first rounders. It's always a bountiful class when you've got premier programs like Ohio State, cranking out consistent national champion contenders like Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, unless you're Christian Jones, like those, when those universities are humming, they produce big time tackle prospects. And we saw like the tackle from Texas this year. You'll see it week 1 for the Saints. Like he's a good player. He might not be Kelvin Banks Jr. I didn't love that pick because I don't know if he could play right tackle, and the Cardinals didn't really have a ton of use for him this year. But like Josh Simmons, if he had been healthy, like that would have been in consideration. He just wasn't healthy. And again, it's coincidental that Walter Nolan's not healthy now, and he is, and he's playing for Kansas City. But that E-Bag, both Utah tackles are awesome. Saw them firsthand last year in the Big 12. So yeah, there's a lot of movement for the Arizona Cardinals to be able to shift Jonah Williams out if he underperforms this year. 1,000%.
I love that you're talking about like offensive linemen like crops in the medieval times. Like it's bountiful. It's a bountiful crop.
Bountiful class.
Yes,
that's right.
Of body movers. Speaking of which, talking about the 2026 draft, our guy Fran Duffy's going to drop his first big board tomorrow.
Sure.
You diehards, you're going to have access to that. Look for that. Go PHNX tomorrow. Let's check out our super chat from Tony. Tony B. Just want the show to force the show to last a little longer. Excited for next Thursday. Yeah, let's go, Tony. Join us next Thursday. And Tony at, of course, Wild Horse Pass, Gila River Resorts and Casinos, August 28th. We're going to be live from 4:30 into the wee hours of the morning from what I'm hearing. We've got 3 shows. The show that we're doing for broadcast, 4:30. The residency starts there. And then 6 o'clock, not for broadcast, kind of a town hall meeting style, just live for the people in attendance at 6. And then it's our fantasy football draft at 7. Tony, can't wait to see you at maybe one of those events or all of those events, and as well as anybody else who wants to show up. It's free, and but you can RSVP for your spot today.
We sit here less than 3 full days away from finding out what's going down with relation to the Cardinals' final preseason game. You dropped a note to me today that Pete Carroll has played his starting quarterback, Geno Smith, a good amount in the first 2 preseason games. So you're doubtful that we see Geno back in Arizona this Saturday. Do you think that impacts the Cardinals' decision?
Yeah, I think it would play into it. Like, are they going to get, worthy competition that they're going to deem, valuable reps, going against 2s, 3s, 4s, guys trying to, fringe roster types. Like, do their top players benefit from seeing those reps? And I think you can come to the conclusion that probably not.
We'll see. Arizona Cardinals decisions to make. We'll be covering it ad nauseum. Emphasis on nausea if we have to watch.
Yeah. We're going to have to ask tomorrow. If we want an answer on this, we're going to have to ask tomorrow, Thursday morning. Gannon speaks with the media, but we won't be able to talk to him until post-game on Saturday night. So as far as the starters and what their status is, hopefully you can get an answer tomorrow morning.
Keep it locked in. PHNX Cardinals on Twitter. And, of course, Bo Brock. So he'll be with JG and company manana. In the meantime, drop us a like. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. It's regular season right around the corner, which means we're off tomorrow on Thursday. We're back on Friday with a full preview show, for better or worse, ahead of Vegas. And, of course, pregame and postgame come Saturday night. Big thanks to everybody in the chat. Noah Man crushed it with the graphics today. As we look ahead, the 53-man roster just days away from being at least temporarily finalized. For Bo, Noah, I'm Johnny. We'll see you on Friday.
We all silly like the mayor.